And so begins another day. Another day of broadcast excellence right here at Truckin City Mobile Headquarters. And we're beginning a more exclusive effort to remain informed and ahead of the game. If you are into the subtle art of critical thinking, then this is your place to be. We are Truckin Headlines, and we have designed this channel to keep you informed of the never-ending changes that occur with the trucking industry. Consider becoming a subscriber today and join the more than 1,005 people that have already said silence is history. Now, folks, the article we're going to talk about today is spotlighting a FreightWaves opinion. It's titled Texas Bill, a trucking priority for tort reform dies in House committee. It's linked below in the description. If you'd like to have a good read, go ahead and read through it. Now, it may sound like it's just another boring legislative update, but I'm telling you right now, this is anything but. This is the kind of bureaucratic backdoor deal that changes the game for trucking companies, big and small. Because this bill, SB 39, was meant to protect you from the kind of courtroom ambush that's bankrupting small fleets all across this country. It was designed to keep lawyers from dragging your entire history into a lawsuit over an isolated event. It was supposed to stop the practice of turning a single fender bender into a full-blown character assassination. But now, it's dead. Dead and gone, buried, not even voted on. And what's worse is it didn't die because of people rejecting it. No, it didn't die because truckers stood up against it. It died because of silence, because of political fear and media-focused panic. So now we're asking the real question. What happened to the bill? And furthermore, what happens to us? That and more coming up on Truckin' Headlines. Greetings to you, truck lovers and truth seekers, and everyone across the United States of trucking. I welcome you to another edition of Truckin' Headlines. This is your collaborative think tank for advanced trucking journalism, the Institute for the Restoration of Critical Thinking. Yeah, and I'm going to wear that one out because I like that one. So, the Texas House of Representatives, yeah. The Lone Star State, yeah. Just quietly set Bill 39 alone to bleed out in committee. No bang, no blaze, just silence. While lobbyists may sleep easy tonight, you, my friend, you just became a bigger legal target than ever before. You may ask, why in the hell are you talking about this, boss man? Well, because the one bill designed to protect you from having your entire safety history paraded in front of a jury has done, it's gone. Yeah, it's gone. I'm losing my place here. So let's call this what it is. Open season on the independent fleet. SB 39 wasn't about dodging responsibility. It was about due process. It was about ensuring the courtroom didn't become a circus where your whole career is put on trial over a blown taillight from 5 years ago. But the media didn't say that. No. The media trotted out tragedy. They ran headlines soaked in fear, teardrops, and political opportunism, turning out one terrible accident into a wrecking ball against reform. Y'all know the wreck, you know the wreck I'm talking about. So ask yourself, will plaintiff lawyers now use this to go after you? Let me know in the comments. Tell me what you think. Because here's what they know. They know that small fleets can't afford long, drawn out court battles. You can't throw a team of attorneys at every single accusation. They know you'll settle, they know you'll fold, not because you're guilty, but because you're broke. And yet every year we get hit with more and more responsibilities, more compliance, more regulations, higher insurance, more tech mandates, more this, more that. They demand accountability from you. But where's your protection when a $10 million verdict is thrown at you like a dart on a wall? Where's your voice in the courtroom when some hungry litigator waves your CSA score up in front of a jury like it's a murder weapon? It's not justice anymore. It's revenge masquerading as reform. That, my friends, is what I think. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'd be interested to hear your take on this. Evening, Thumper. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad, not bad. So SB 39 has been put down for a little bit of time. There is a little bit of hope, and I'll get to that here shortly. But because you can't now fight for yourself and make things more interesting in terms of defending your record or keeping it out of a unnecessary court battle, what are your thoughts?
Um, I think it's gonna hurt the little guy. I mean, that was designed to help the little guy. So
Yeah,
that's all it is big corporation, money, 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 money. And I mean, I've said it for as long as I've been on your show. That's what it's all about.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, let's bring another guest we have in here. Good evening to you, Dollar. How are things tonight?
Oh, not too bad. How are you, boss man?
Ah, I can't complain. Can't complain. We're 1,005 and grown. What's to complain about, right?
Well, there's a lot to complain about.
Hey, hey. Let's start with HB 39. What do you think about that? We now can no longer count on people fighting for us. We've got to deal with all the crap they bring up in a courtroom. Now, what do you think of that?
Well, I guess you're gonna have to get wiser and not be able to get caught.
Well,
Because for the
that's an
plain and
interesting way of
simple
looking at it.
fact that I think it's going to screw the little guy in the long run.
You know? Okay. Yeah, it's certainly not boding well for us. That's for darn sure. I mean, the more we get into these messes, the more it seems like the system's rigged. It's kind of seeming that way. I mean, do you think it's fair that your entire driving history can be used against you, even if it has nothing to do with the crash? I mean, because that's kind of the reason why they set it aside. Think about that.
You know,
Everything you've ever done is now brought into question, or can be, I should say.
well, that's good because how far can they go back? Because they can only go 3 years, no
Hmm.
matter how you want to look at it.
Right.
You know, everything falls off after 3 years. Insurance it's 7.
Hmm.
That it comes back and gets you. So
Hmm.
really, how is it gonna? Unless you've done something totally construed, how far are they going back? That's my question.
Well, I don't think anything in SB 39 spells a time limit. There's no real time limit. I mean, if something's pulled up in discovery and the other side thinks it's relevant, this just makes it a lot easier to do. That's all.
Well, let me ask you this, boss man. Have you ever went to your local county to your courthouse and pulled your DMV?
Not from the courthouse. No, I've pulled that usually through the website.
No, pull it through where you actually get a printout of it because everything doesn't matter what you've done in the state. Anything over 3 years is not on your record anymore. They can't go back and get it.
Okay.
So as
I'm
long
aware of
as
that.
you've been a good boy for 3 years, how can they use your record against you?
True. I
Everybody
mean, well,
speeds.
your MVR is only restricted to 3 years, as you say. But accidents, any public documents on anything that, let's say you had a fender bender,
Accidents are
your
7 years
neighbor.
by the insurance company.
Well, yeah, that's yeah. I know they're longer than 3, but yeah. So
But as far as your
still could be
record
used.
and them holding anything against you is only 3 years.
Hmm. Yeah.
Unless they go and change that they can go from the time that you started
Hmm.
to the present date,
Hmm.
they can't go past 3 years
Yep.
because then it's invalid and not worthy of anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they certainly ain't making things easy on anybody trying to defend themselves. I mean, because honestly, I'm of the mindset if there's an infraction or a CSA violation that has absolutely nothing to do with the case or any, I reading the Freightways report, it sounds like now that's open season. They can use it however they want. You know, I personally don't think they should be. I don't think it should have anything to do. I mean, if it makes a difference between $100 million verdict and what's fair justice, I'm all for doing what's only right. That's
So are they trying to use it to save a guy like me that I haven't had anything on my record in the last 3 years?
mm-hmm,
You know, are they using it against a guy like Thumper that gets overweight tickets,
mm-hmm.
gets logbook violations, gets put out of service?
Yeah.
No offense, Thumper. I'm just bringing it up truthfully. You know,
Yeah.
how are they going to use it against you? The only thing is, the one thing I was always told when I got a CDL was you went from being innocent to being guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, you just made a few viewers in my audience very happy because I'll tell you something. I've heard that said to me I don't know how many times, and I
But
I
you,
get where
you
you're coming from, and I've argued that point, but yeah, yeah.
but if you sit down and
You're
look at it,
well, I
if a
mean, you're
car
put on
cuts
it.
you off and you asshole a car,
Yeah.
you're in trouble. It's
Well,
not the car's
from
fault.
from a professional standpoint, Dollar, we are held to a higher standard. Yes, so I agree 100% with what you said,
So why
and
are we held at a higher standard and not the people in the cars?
they don't have a commercial record or to justify, and they
Th-
don't make a
They're,
dollar.
you're still the same person. Doesn't matter if you have a CDL or a car's license. You're still the
Right.
same person.
Yeah. We have a bank account. They don't.
Who has a
That's the
bank
truth.
account?
Huh?
Everybody's got a bank account though.
Right. But
Just because
generally
mine
speaking,
has more money in it.
if you own a company, most people think, that dollar value is going to be a lot higher. What you think?
Everybody's money hungry. I
Exactly.
mean, honest to God, if you fart wrong, somebody's going to sue you over it.
Yep. That
You
actually leads
know,
me to another question I had. Why is the government so quick to hold truckers accountable, but so slow to protect them in court? I mean, we are a target. You just mentioned it. I mean, I think money's a large part of it. I really do.
well, I'll put it like this. 3 years ago, I was in an accident. A lady blew a stop sign.
Hmm.
A year to the day, her family in her state decided to come after me before a wrongful death suit
Mm.
that I had nothing to do with. She hit me.
Right.
My insurance company paid her family to shut up. Why? Because
So what?
everybody thinks they can get a buck off a trucker.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was going to say, was there actually a fatality involved in that incident?
She lived for 3 weeks and died.
So
But it's
where's the
it's not a
proof?
wrongful death. She lived for 3 weeks
Yeah, I was going to say, where's the proof that the accident caused that?
because of the state
That
that
would
it
be
was in.
that would be on the insurance company to fight. But that's why we
Well,
have insurance. You know.
the biggest thing is a state south of me, Missouri, is
Hmm.
a state that they look at every accident that's
Hmm.
in their state. So
Yep.
if you hit a car and the car was 75% responsible, Their insurance has to pay for 75%. Your insurance pays for 25%.
Right.
Iowa, anything over 80% is on the other driver. Period. It doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right.
But my insurance paid her family money for them to collect money that she didn't have an insurance in the first place.
Wow.
That's the part that's fun. Is I
Yeah.
have to carry high insurance.
Mhm.
Why can't we make cars do the same thing?
I agree. I agree.
You
Which
know,
actually, which actually sets this whole thing up, because I want to reframe this. That one of the reasons why I'm bringing all this up and I'm highlighting this specific article is recently there's been a lot of press over not specific states, but a number of states wanting to raise minimums. Currently, the minimums are, I think, what 750 grand, and they're considering um, upping that to almost 1.5 million.
your insurance that you're insured for,
Mhm.
depending on your insurance company, most insurance companies hold $1 million policy.
Right, right,
The difference is your compensation.
right,
So if you hit somebody, it pays for their debt. That's where they want to need to raise it.
right. I'm not specific on the numbers, but I do know that a number of, in fact, the one that sticks to my mind and the one that was most notorious recently was New Jersey. New Jersey was considering a bill to hike up insurance minimums to almost 5 million. I think. I thought that
Um,
was staggeringly high, and
over the
and
last 4 years,
mhm.
there was talk of 1.5 million. There was a talk of two
Yep,
million. There was
yep,
2.5. I never heard five. But
yeah, oh
there
yeah,
again,
yeah.
we run in
That
different
was
circles also.
springtime last year when they were considering that. Actually, it was right around the same time that that Wabash um, verdict was levied. I don't know if you remember when that was. That 462 million deal. Um,
Oh,
but that's that's what brings me into the other reason for highlighting everything tonight. I want to say hello to Griff, who's in the audience. Good evening, my friend. I'm glad you joined us. Um, you know, the whole idea of there being so many nuclear verdicts and so few people actually putting a cap on it. It's been talked about, but nobody's actually ever done anything. And I felt like, especially on the heels of the latest incident in Texas with everything going on, I felt like SB 39 was actually a good start to actually fight that. Because I've said before, and you probably heard me say it, the whole idea of just there being open season against trucking companies and the ability to levy nuclear verdicts, as it were, I think really needs to be looked at, and I think really needs to stop. And I was hoping 39 would help. Now there is help. There is hope, and this is what I kind of intimated earlier. There is still in process State Bill 30. Um, and from the reading and research I did, State Bill 30 isn't exactly in the same language as 39, but it does go towards limiting, I think, some of the uh, damage that can be done in a lawsuit. It's, I think, aimed at minimizing how much or maximizing how much a litigant can go after a company for. I think that's where State Bill 30 comes in. That hasn't passed, and that hasn't been voted on, but it hasn't left committee either. So there's still a little hope.
the
So
question I have for you, boss man, is
mhm.
when have people stopped targeting trucking companies?
Yeah, well, what's going to happen when you run out? What's going to happen when you run out of trucking companies to target?
There
That's
you go.
that's
You know,
It's
how
it's a
many
never-ending question.
how many times have you had a car cut you off and slam on the brakes and no brake lights?
Several times this week, in fact.
With no
I can't
brake
tell you
lights.
how many notifications my ELD gives me that I'm following too closely. Well, yeah, look, somebody slows down in front of me. You can't help it. Happens all the time.
But that was a big thing in Kansas. What, 10 years ago?
Yeah,
Guys were
yeah,
buying vehicles and shutting the brake lights off, and slamming in front of them on trucks just because they wanted the money.
yep. And right now, there's a bunch of authorities going after a big racket going on in New York City. If y'all are down in New York City area, be careful because there's a bunch of people down there taking older cars and causing wrecks just to get insurance claims. I
Hmm.
was a write up in one of the rags. I forget which one it was, but I remember seeing that was last week. I remember seeing that headline. I can never remember this stuff on the fly. It's always got to be in front of me.
The biggest thing is just like you said, there's an
Yeah,
uprise in it. Why? Because it's a trucking company. Their
yeah,
pockets are deeper.
yeah. So tell me, guys, what do you think? Do you think past violations, even fixed ones, meaning ones you accounted for, had cleaned off your record, you know, should they be allowed to influence a jury about anything to the extent we talked about earlier? I know there's limits. I know there's things, but think about it. Shouldn't that be off the table? I mean, especially when we're talking about something that may not even be related. Think about it. If you got a speeding ticket, let's say 5 years ago, and the accident you had was not speed related, hypothetical, you know.
Wait, I can argue that fact
Okay. How so?
because that's how they got money out of my insurance company because I was doing 62 on a 55-mile-an-hour road.
Well, I'm just pissed poor at
The only thing
picking
that did
examples, ain't I?
the only thing that did is give me time to get there sooner.
Yeah.
So if I was slower, would she have missed me?
Well, that's where that Warner, you remember that Warner $100 million verdict came from?
Mm-hmm.
That's their argument. They said that if they hadn't decided to drive as fast as they were, it would have changed the time or say it had something to do with the fact that they drove, putting them in the situation, that kind of thing, which I thought was a corny way to win that argument. But they wound up doing it. I think they're still fighting that too. I think. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I'd have to
I
go
could be wrong.
back and look.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Thumper, are you okay? You're being awful quiet.
Yeah, I'm kind of doing something right at the moment. I'm listening.
Oh
Not
yeah,
really.
he's sitting back enjoying the conversation.
I am. I am enjoying it because I'm actually learning something. I don't know a whole lot about this, so.
Yeah, quit doing that.
Yeah, yeah. Dollar
Wow,
see what I was doing.
you're speaking right up my alley.
Yeah. Yeah, I got time on my hands. I might actually think about it. So I mean,
Well,
overall, overall, with SB 39 being done the way it is, do you feel safer or do you feel more exposed?
I don't feel any safer.
No, no,
I don't feel safe out on the road because cars don't have respect for trucks.
no, no. And it doesn't seem like it's getting better anytime soon. One
It's getting
encouraging
worse.
thing I did see, one totally off topic. One encouraging thing I did see over dinner. I was looking at my phone and looking at the newsfeed. Um, 52 regulations just got dropped from the FCRs.
They're not enforcing 52 rules.
52 regulations just got dropped from the um, uniform code of whatever, it's FCRs or whatever,
Huh.
whatever they call it.
You
So
got me wound up enough. I need a cigarette. So I'm going to turn off my camera.
they claim that the regulations they've dropped were that of old, useless, and no longer relevant. But I'll tell you, look through the list. If you're curious and you want to find it, it's on today's Google News feeds. It's there. You can see it. Um, look at some of some of them actually are things I've talked about recently. Like one of them was the you remember the video I did about the labels being required to be affixed to the ICC bumpers. They've removed that regulation now. They're no longer they're no longer required to be affixed as of the releasing of this. And something to do with reflective tape, which I don't know if it has to do with the bumpers or if it has to do with just the side of the trailer. But that was a regulation. They removed that.
Oh, so we're
Several,
taking safety away.
yeah, to a small degree, and several. Get this, and you guys want to check this because I don't know specifics, but several regulations that relate to agricultural trucks and commercial vehicles. Got to check that because it may apply to you. You never know. 52
Really?
regulations gone, yes. I think I remember counting 6 separate regulations that were specifically ag related. And I thought of you and Thumper when I saw those.
Aw. I try to run ag exempt with my reefer. Every now and then I do
Yeah, I'll bet you do.
it. We're not getting into that on here.
No, of course. So let me wrap up my point by asking this. If a driver makes one mistake, should their entire career be dragged into a courtroom? For example, what happened with that Warner case? Perfect example. During that Warner trial, every single thing that trainee did was dragged out and put before you. I mean, you heard his entire driving history. It was put up, it was public. Same thing. The person was behind the wheel. They did the same thing, and they tore that entire, history of both of those guys apart. And the other side made it a point to do that, and the defense took exception to it because they felt like a lot of that information didn't need to be known by the jury. But they still let it go. They still let it in. They still made it part of the case, and it is where it is now. Me personally, I stand on what I said at the start of this. If it's relevant to the case, yes, I see every need to put it in there. But if you're talking about a brake light out or a registration violation or something, what the hell does that have to do with the case? Nonsense. Shouldn't have anything to do with it. So, Thumper, he's being a stump on a log, brother. What's your thought? Pay attention. Say something, my friend.
I don't know.
I'm messing with you.
I
I'm
guess
messing with you.
no. You gotta. It's all. I don't know. It's what it's about
Let me
nowadays.
ask.
It's all about money. I really wish.
Yeah, your signal's kind of breaking up.
Oh,
So
did I
yeah,
lose
your
you?
signal. No, you're
Oh,
still
is it?
there. You're still here.
Well,
It was breaking up there for a second.
let's try it again. All right. What was your question?
Do you think it's fair that a person's entire driving history is dragged into a courtroom to fight a case? If they make one mistake, should that entire career be dragged into a courtroom?
Yes and no. I mean, it depends on what it is. I mean, a DUI, if we were out having a drink with your family, one drink, and you get popped to get a DUI, I'm against that. But if you go out and get completely shit faced because you want to go have fun, then yeah, you
And
screwed
you're
up your
completely
career.
careless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in the direction we were
But
talking about it was relating to like the nuclear verdicts because that's really what this comes down to. SB 39 being dropped makes nuclear verdicts now even easier. So, and I don't know if you heard me earlier, but there's still a bill in the Texas legislature that's still pending that stands to fight for us. And whether you realize it or not, it's going to fight for us under the guise of capping the max amounts they can sue us for. So you definitely want to pay attention to that, and you definitely want to make sure that you're on top of the game when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Well, I believe that there should be a cap on what they can get you for.
Yeah. What do you think that
Because
cap should be?
I believe it should be at the cap of what you have for an insurance. You know,
Well, that's good.
I know a couple guys that A car pulled out in front of him. He slammed in the lady he's trying for $2.5 million.
Mhm.
For what reasons? She walked away fine. No scratches, no bumps, no bruises.
Well, and that's the other thing too. I mean, the frivolous lawsuit part. I mean, how can you fight that? I mean, who's to say what's frivolous and what's not? You know, uh, how do you fight when somebody walks away, as you say, scot clean from an accident, no injuries apparent, nothing obvious, and then 2 weeks later they're in the hospital in traction? Who are we to say that's wrong or right? Are we medical professionals? Are we able to call that and make, So I mean, to an extent, I see where they're coming from, but I don't think a broken toenail should be worth $2.5 million. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's kind of where I stand on and that's where a lot of companies are losing their shit when you think about it, because they'll exhaust their insurance, they'll become uninsurable just to get by or through a problem that was born of maybe a mistake, maybe they didn't see something. Um, so the ever loving question is, what happened to second chances? As long as there are nuclear verdicts, there are no second chances. There is no opportunity for someone to learn as long as there's that, you know, possible gavel hanging over your head that may drop at any point in time, nuclear verdict, multi-million dollar lawsuit, whatever, however you want to word it or frame it. How can people learn if the very first mistake they make, they're put down and they're put out? I mean, all of us make mistakes. All of us do. Everybody does. But does that mean that one mistake ends your career, your life, your livelihood, whatever you're talking about? I don't think so. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. And I think SB 39 was an actual way to fight that and help us, because I think it played to although allowing relevant information in, it kind of limited the other side from bringing in stuff that had absolutely nothing to do with it. And we do need to pay attention to Bill 30. I don't know what that bill is titled. I just know it's SB 30, and I do know it's still pending, according to the Freightwaves article. But it's, I certainly hope it's not a case where they're both thrown out. I honestly, because we do need somebody in our corner. We do need somebody actually advocating for us. So, that being said, where does this leave us? Well, keep your eyes on SB 30, folks, because it may not be as old as 39 was, but it's still in play. And if any shift in legal limits or monetary damages could swing the scales of justice back toward the working man or slam the door shut again,
Huh?
I'm all for looking at it.
What's that?
So, Thumper, you got any last words to say on this matter?
I thought my mic was off, so I'm sorry.
No, it's
um,
on. Well, it's on. You came in at a good
no,
time, actually.
yeah, no, I guess not really. I mean, we do need someone to stand up for us, honestly. That's getting harder and harder to find. But, you know, what's that saying? Life gives you lemons, make cake? Or is it lemonade? I don't know, something like that. Got to throw a little humor in there. But
Right,
no,
exactly.
we just got to work together and we'll get through it. And just like Bo and I always say, we don't do it just for us and you, or we just don't do it for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
Yeah, you certainly threw that in a lot faster than normal.
Oh yeah, I forgot one other thing too.
Oh, what's that?
God bless our, all the military personnel, EMTs, firefighters, everybody in general. They deserve a lot of respect, and we all respect one another. We could actually get somewhere in life. So that's all I got.
Yep. Amen to that. I hear you there. Well, Thumper, I appreciate you being part of the show tonight. Look, guys, when it comes down to it, this Sunday, we're talking about some interesting stuff. So I urge you to join us on Frontlines, where we're going after hours of service changes. You're definitely going to want to be a part of that show. And stay tuned, because there's stuff you need to know about happening on the regulatory front. So if you're tired of being regulated by people who've never set foot in a super cab, you don't want to miss this Sunday's show. This is where the conversations happen. This is where the truth gets broadcast, and this is Truckin City Media. And remember, guys, it's the trucks that make deliveries, but it's you that make the difference. So until we talk again, remember, guys, stay sharp, stay loud. Until we talk again, keep rolling.